Hi, EDU 1107. Today we're going to talk about Lev Vygotsky and his social development theory, more specifically social interaction. Let us begin with a little history. Lev Vygotsky is a Russian psychologist who was born November 17, 1896 in Orsha, Belarus, which was then the Russian Empire, into a well-to-do family of Jewish ancestry. His father was chief of the United Bank, his mother was a teacher, but stayed home to care for and educate their 8 children. As a child, Vygotsky read the Torah, books of Jewish scriptures, and other sacred Jewish writings, and completed his primary education at home with his mother and a private tutor, and then entered public school for his secondary education. Vygotsky graduated from secondary school at age 17. He wanted to be a teacher, but this was not an option for Jewish in Russia before the revolution. He entered the University of Moscow and initially studied medicine and then switched to law. He received a law degree from the University of Moscow, but also studied literature, linguistics, sociology, psychology, philosophy, and the arts. After graduating from the University of Moscow, Vygotsky returned to his hometown of Gomel to teach literature and philosophy. In Gomel, he met his wife Rosa and they had 2 daughters. Vygotsky also set up a research laboratory at the Teachers College of Gomel and began to practice clinical psychology. In 1924, Vygotsky made a very successful presentation at the second All-Russian Psychoneurological Congress in Leningrad, comparing methods of reflexological and psychological investigation. In 1925, he finished his dissertation entitled The Psychology of Art, Consciousness as a Problem in the Psychology of Behavior. Vygotsky was an accomplished writer, publishing books on psychology topics, often centered around issues of child development and education. A pioneering psychologist with diverse interests, Lev Vygotsky was interested in how cultural elements like customs, beliefs, skills, and values were passed on to new generations. It was Vygotsky's view that the social interaction is the basis of cognitive growth. An individual's full cognitive development requires social interaction. He felt a child's mental development, such as thought, language, and reasoning, was a result of his culture and developed through social interactions with family and members of the community. Children acquire behaviors and cognitive processes relevant to their own society. He states, every function in the child's cultural development appears twice, first between people, which is inner-psychological, and then inside the child, which is intra-psychological. This applies equally to voluntary attention, to logical memory, and to the formation of ideas. Interpsychological is the social level where a child will have to interact and connect with other people. This is the level where social learning takes place. Intra-psychological takes place within the child. Once he passes the social level, the skills will appear a second time, leading to cognitive development. As the child grows older, his social learning increases through more interactions that are social. This social stimulation leads to higher mental functions. An example of this process is language. As a child develops, so does his need for language. The need to communicate to people around him that he is happy, sad, hungry, or tired will facilitate the need to learn languages. As he grows older and experiences other social situations like school, sports, and friends, language and thought processes will advance as well. Vygotsky was a prominent proponent that cognitive development is advanced through social interaction with more skilled individuals. Vygotsky died on June 11, 1934, of tuberculosis at the age of 37. Because the Communist Party often criticized his work in Russia, it wasn't until the 1970s that Vygotsky's theories became known in the West as new concepts, and his ideas were introduced to the fields of education and developmental psychology. Since then, Vygotsky's works have been translated and have become very influential in the education. Thank you for listening.